Hey, what's going on, people? Today I want to talk about the hashtag Adaywithoutawoman thing that is kind of simultaneously taking place during the International Women's Day celebration. This seems like just another excuse to protest, scream, complain about people being privileged, and just to show general hatred of Trump, which I am okay with, but unlike the people who are most vocal about their hatred of Trump, I actually have a huge disdain for all politicians ever. So I feel like I'm pretty consistent there. But these people that are marching and protesting today and not going to work, and I'll get to that. These people are basically just using anything that they can find as an excuse to protest and march. And it's not just this group of people. It seems like everybody is doing this nowadays. And it really kind of waters down the effect of a protest, of a march, of screaming with a bullhorn, of all of these different things that people do to show that they're angry or upset about something. When you're doing it every day, when you're doing it every other week, once a month, like, people just kind of get tired of it. And I imagine that this will have a similar effect of the Day Without Immigrants protest, where, a bunch of people decided that they just were not going to go to work because they were mad at the president. So they decided they would punish their employers. In the same way that these women are upset about Trump or whatever else, because I'm sure there are a bunch of groups within this group that all are, campaigning for being the biggest victim of them all. But, they're doing the same thing. They're taking whatever it is that they're mad about, whatever boogeyman that they've attached to their particular reason for protesting, they've attached that to this excuse for punishing their employers instead of whoever it is that they're actually upset about. So, I imagine that it will end up much like the Immigrants Day protest or whatever, where they'll march around, they'll scream, they'll sing some songs, they'll chant, they'll wear vagina hats and suits or whatever the fuck else.
You is ready for crack!
And nothing will have changed except for some of these people will have lost their jobs. And you'll be hearing about that tomorrow. I'm sure people will be bitching and complaining. And it's so funny to me because a lot of these women, or I would even wager that all of the women involved in this protest believe that there is this major wage gap between men and women, and they don't realize the irony of them participating in a protest by punishing their employers and not showing up for work and possibly getting fired is actually creating a wage gap. Even if they don't get fired, still there are a lot of women that didn't go to work today and a whole lot of men who did, and they're working overtime or whatever it is. So that is automatically going to create a difference in total earnings. But these people don't really understand what they're doing. Like most people who are protesting and screaming and throwing shit or whatever, like they're just upset. They don't know how to be upset. They don't really know how to express their anger in a way that is beneficial or constructive. So they would rather just march around and scream and chant and whatever.
You ready for crack?
And I feel like this has a lot to do with the age of the internet, or more specifically the age of social media, where a lot of people's interactions happen almost, the majority of them happen on the internet, where you're sharing things, you're throwing out opinions, you're posting GIFs and pictures and memes and shit, and then you're just getting likes, maybe getting a little stupid debate with somebody real quick, and then that's it. You never actually have to deal face to face with people. So you kind of miss out on those social skills of knowing how to deal with someone, how to make an argument. More importantly, how to make an argument without immediately resorting to emotion. I'm sure a lot of you have been in situations where you have had a disagreement with someone and, you weren't even being a dick about it, but you just kind of brought up the fact that you disagree with something somebody said, or you maybe tried to point out why the thing that somebody said was false, and they immediately resort to name calling, character assassination, insults, whatever, because they don't know how to do it. They don't know how to make an argument. And then, they would tell you like, oh, well, I just don't waste time on people like you. When the truth is they don't know how. They don't have social skills. And I really think that is a huge reason why you're seeing the amount of screaming and marching and shit, because people don't know what to do. They don't have a real outlet for their anger. So, I mean, they do, but, they just don't know it. So they're just resorting to the most base level toddler tantrum shit that they can think of. And I don't think this is going to work out good for anybody long term. Everybody wants to, talk about the protests of yesteryear and talk about how, why the protests that they're doing today are so meaningful based on the protests that people have done in the past, when the protests that people have done in the past, like, they actually had meaning. There wasn't a lot of this shit. So when there was a million people walking down the fucking street angry and pissed off, people paid attention to that. Nobody's paying attention to this shit anymore. And I would even go as far as to argue that a lot of this shit it really just comes back to social media, that these people just want something else to post. They just want something to post. I mean, go on Twitter, go on Facebook. All you see is video. Like, people aren't even living in the moment. They're not even actually being at the protest. They're just looking for something cool to take a picture of, to take a little video snippet of, to post so they can get likes and shares. Like, these people have no fucking idea what they're doing at all. Like, what is your goal? Like, any action that you're taking out of anger of some situation, like, you have to have some sort of plan of how that action is going to affect the change that you were trying to see. And none of these people can tell me how these marches and stupid pink hats and, chanting and screaming and signs and whatever else the fuck you're doing, like, how does that create a bridge from where you are to where you want to be? It doesn't. But it does give you a lot of shit to share on social media. I feel like a lot of this shit is just, in large part, virtue signaling and just attention seeking.
Let me get a break, baby.
And people want attention. They thrive on that shit. That's like the most important commodity to a lot of people nowadays, is just attention. Especially in today's age, where getting enough attention can actually be monetized. So I kind of understand that, but you've got to offer something more than just an appeal to emotion, because that's all this is. It's an appeal to emotion, and it's a cry for attention. And you're going to get it. It's not going to be the attention you want, except for the people that are in your echo chamber, that they agree with you. Fine, that's cool. But the rest of us, we're looking at you like you're fucking morons.
You is ready for crack.
And I really don't mean to insult, anybody who is in favor of this, but I'm just saying, like, you got to understand how people are seeing you. Like, this is not doing anything. If you want something to be better, first explain to me what the problem is without making a million fucking arguments within a single argument, because, not going to be able to respond to all that shit. And if you're going to send me a big novel worth of arguments, then I'm going to have to send you 5 fucking novels worth of responses. And I'm not trying to do that shit. So you need to really just summarize with facts what your issue is and how what you're doing is going to make it better. And then I can tell you that, hey, maybe I'm on the same page with you as far as that. You know, you'd be surprised how much that we might actually agree on a person who thinks that this march and these other protests are good. But actually, I mean, most of us really kind of agree on most things. Like, no matter who you are, really, we all kind of want the same thing. We want to be happy. We want to feel secure. You know, we probably all want love. We want to be able to raise our kids in the way that we see fit. You know, we all pretty much want the same things, but it's always the path to get from there to here. You know, that middle ground, that bridge, that's where all the fighting occurs. And I would say that is incredibly destructive to everyone as a whole. The longer we keep fighting each other over every little thing and trying to paint ourselves as being the bigger victim, because now it's not even just, okay, well, this is the boogeyman, we are victims. Now it's, this is the boogeyman, we are victims. No, we are victims. No, we are victims. No, we are the real victims. And then, so it's like the victims are fighting over who gets to be the biggest victim. And you're just kind of just all screaming at each other. And the only things that, you know, a lot of you people can actually agree on is that you're victims. But, and then even with that, there's a lot of issue because you think that you're being victimized by things that you're not being victimized by. You're blaming capitalism. When a lot of times I've noticed that people don't even actually understand what it is. But that's what they're being taught in their schools, that, you know, such and such that happened because capitalism. And then so they just buy it. Like, okay, well, that's my professor, or that's what I read on the internet. So yeah, that's what it is. Nobody wants to spend time reading books and following the like chain of logic to the conclusion of something. Like, you just look at the surface and you're just like, oh, well, you know, this thing happened and it equaled this, or these two things happened. And then so you just automatically assume that, well, correlation equals causation. And that's not the case. That's not the case. I mean, maybe sometimes, but you need to actually do the work. Like, you know, when you were in school and you would do like long division or whatever, and then you would you get done your work and you bring your sheet to your teacher, and your teacher would say, oh, well, you know what, the answer is right, but I'm still going to mark this incorrect because I need you to show me how you got to this answer. You know, you didn't write down the steps that brought you to this conclusion. So, you know, that's what a lot of people aren't doing. They're looking at a problem and then they're just kind of throwing out an answer, and they're just assuming that's the right answer without actually ever delving into the meat of it, because that takes work. It's long and it's boring and it's tedious. I get it, but it's necessary. That way we don't just end up a bunch of people who are screaming and yelling at each other and never getting anywhere. I mean, look where we're at. For better or worse, we are in America. Well, at least, you know, I am. And, you know, a lot of the people watching, I notice a lot of my viewers are Americans. So, you know, we are in America, and chances are this is probably, if you could just end up anywhere on the face of the earth, this is probably the place that you might want to be. Yet the way people are screaming and yelling and protesting and breaking shit and just going into just straight up rage mode, you would think that this is the worst fucking place on the planet. And in some ways it is. In some ways it actually is. I mean, for us to be, what is it, like 5% of the world's population, and you know, the United States government incarcerates like 20, or they account for 25% of all of the incarceration in the world. Like, that's insane. That's fucking insane. But in a lot of ways, like, there's no better place in a lot of ways. So I feel like if you put all of this energy into actually improving your existence, you would be so much happier. So much happier. We have a very limited amount of time on this planet. Do you really want to spend it all just bitching and complaining about everything until the day that you die? Like, is that really what you want? I don't know. You know, I was really going to get into a whole bunch of other shit, but I think I'm just going to end this here because I got some other shit to deal with right now. Speaking of which, if you would be so kind as donate at all, that would be fucking awesome. I could actually really use it right now. If you don't really have it in you, but you still need to make some purchases on the internet or something, you know, I got my links for Amazon. Feel free to shop through that link, and it won't cost you an extra cent. It's just that whatever you buy from Amazon, Amazon will give me a cut of the money that they get. So that would be cool. Other ways, you know, PayPal, Bitcoin, become a Patreon subscriber. That would be cool too. Anyway, I'm just gonna end this here, and I'm gonna say that I want to hear from you people. Like I don't know. I feel like I need to talk to people about this shit instead of just talking into the wind or just posting something up and hoping to get likes and shit, which is all fine. I suggest you like, but I actually want to hear your opinions. I mean, I want to have a conversation about like what is happening here. What is happening in the world today? Like, is it helping? Is it making things worse? What do you think could actually help? Or what solutions have you heard that you think would make things worse? Like, I want to know. Like, I feel like this is how we actually get from point A to point B, is by talking to people and subtracting the emotion out of it, but just talking to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. You people have a fucking great day, and I will be in touch very soon. Peace.